What's going on, YouTube? So today's a little bit different of a video that's normally shown on my channel. Most of the time, I have gameplay videos, stuff like that, but today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and we're going to be creating a TTS bot for Discord. Now, the main purpose of this tutorial is to essentially show you how to set up a bot for Discord using C# and to be able to transmit audio without using ffmpeg. Instead, we'll be using NAudio. And we'll also be building a queue system so that way it could be adapted and expanded upon in the future if you wanted to play like sound bites or any other type of stuff like music, whatever, So, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. Now, I'm going to create a project and we're going to be using .NET 6. Initially, I'm going to create my project using .NET 5. That's because my develop environment is a little bit weird. So we'll go ahead and name this YouTube TTS bot. I'm going to select .NET Framework 5.0. And the reason for that is because between 6 and 5, there's a change in how the template is constructed. As you can see, this is the old standard way that most of us are familiar with. But with .NET 6, unless you change it, it does a more simplistic view, and I absolutely hate it. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to console.cloud.google, and the reason for that is we're going to be using Google's speech or text-to-speech API to be able to synthesize our voice for our text-to-speech. Now, you will have to enter billing information and stuff like that, but don't worry, it's free so long as you don't go over the limit. But once you get in here, you'll create your new project. After you create your project, we're going to go into the library, and then we're going to search for speech. And in speech, we're going to select cloud text-to-speech. Now, I already have this enabled, and I have all of my billing information entered. Now, you may be wondering, wait, billing information, hold up, wait, no. Don't worry, the service is free so long as you do not exceed 1 million characters per month. 1 million characters is a lot to basically consume. So for the most part, you should be fine for this little demonstration, and let's go ahead and continue. Once you have all of that information set up and you've enabled the project, or you've enabled the API for your project, you can go into credentials, and we want to hit manage service accounts. We're going to create a new service account, and the name doesn't really matter too much, just needs to be somewhat unique compared to your other projects. If you have other projects on Google, I'm just going to call this YouTube TTS bot. And then the rest of this is all pretty, it's optional. I'm still just going to do this, and I'm going to hit current owner. Failed to add project roles, whatever. Anyways, once we do that, we're going to go into the newly created services account, and we're going to go into keys, and we're going to add a new key. Now, when you're adding a new key, please make sure to have JSON selected. This should be by default. It's going to download a JSON file, and that's okay. It's not a big deal. That's exactly what we want. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our project, and we're going to hit build. Well, first, I need to go into the project properties, and I need to change this to .NET 6. Then, I'm going to hit build. Afterwards, we're going to go to where the project's located. And we're going to take that JSON file that we downloaded from Google, and we're going to put it in here. Now, to make it more simplistic, we're going to rename this file to tts_auth.json. This is just going to be for a future reference, so that way it's a little bit easier and we know what we're doing. Now we're going to need some additional files from the Discord.net GitHub. The file that we're going to be needing is we're going to need to navigate into voice natives, and then we need to select whichever this is going to be. Because we're building this for .NET and we're doing this on a Windows platform, we need these binaries that are already pre-compiled. Now, if you're doing this on another system or another operating system like Linux, you're going to have to install Opus and libsodium to be able to use the voice functionality of Discord.net. if you're going to be doing this in .NET, obviously. Now, because I'm on a 64-bit environment, I'm going to select the 64-bit one. I'm going to hit download. Then we're going to open it. And we are going to take two files out of here. We're going to take the libsodium.dll, and then we're going to take the libopus.dll. We're also going to rename the libopus to just opus.dll. After that, we're pretty much set up, and we're ready to continue going on with our project. So now what we want to do is we want to go into the NuGet packet manager, because we need to install a couple of libraries that we're going to need to be using. So the first library we're going to need, obviously, is Discord.net. Now, when you're selecting in here, you want to make sure you select the Discord.net one. This one specifically, it has currently 1 million and whatever downloads. And the reason for that is it's going to include all the dependencies that we need, which is going to be core, REST, WebSocket commands, webhook, and interactions. Once that's installed, we're going to need to install a dependency injection from Microsoft. It'll be called Microsoft.extensions.dependency injection. Once that's installed, we're going to need to install NAudio. And then last but not least, we're going to need to install the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech library. Okay, now that we have all of our additional libraries that we need installed, we're going to go back to the Discord.net GitHub. And we're just going to copy a couple things from the sample. Now, they provide a sample framework. This framework is pretty solid. It should be how everyone should design a new bot when they're using the Discord.net framework wrapper, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to go into samples, and then we're going to look at text commands framework. Now we're pretty much going to mirror this, so we're going to create two folders called modules and services. Now once we have those folders created, we're going to create two files inside of the services folder. The first one is going to be called command handling service. I can't type today. And the second file that we're going to create is going to be called audio service. Now, under the modules folder, we want to create a new file, and we want to call this audio module. Now we have our three main files created. That's good. Now what we want to do is we want to go back into the Discord.net GitHub, and we want to look at command handling service, and we're just going to view this as raw. So we're going to just copy this, take this over, because we're going to be using the same thing. Make sure that we change the framework over to or change the namespace to our namespace that we're using in the project. And we're going to do the same thing for the main space of the program, which will be just the program.cs. So I'm going to do this, copy, bam. So again, fix the namespace. We also want to fix the namespace here. Now, the reason why I said we're going to use this framework is because it's a base framework. It's really solid. I feel like everyone should use this framework when they're designing a new bot for Discord.net. If you have a better way to do it, that's perfectly fine. You know, you do you. But for the most part, this is a pretty solid way to get things going. And yeah. So once we have that done, we're going to go all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to remove two things from here. We're going to remove the add singleton HTTP client, and we're going to remove the picture service because we're not currently doing that. We're also going to remove the using statement at the top just to tidy up because we're not doing that. So under the login and sync, you're going to see there's a get variable token. The way that they have this design that you would start this, you would set the environment variable on the executable called token, and you would provide your Discord token. For me right now, I'm just going to leave this blank as a blank string. Now we want to go into the command handling service. For the most part, this is perfectly fine. This will do everything that we needed to do for our use case purposes. But there is one little thing that I want to change, and it's going to be this line right here, which says, if message does not have mention prefix, then return. We're going to add in a little bit extra to that, and we're just going to put a nice little bracket here. We're going to remove this bracket. We're going to do exclamation point message dot has char prefix, and then we're just going to do exclamation point. And then we need to do ref argpass, because that's how this is set up to handle. And then we're going to add an or condition. And then we're going to finish closing this off at the end. Now, what we just changed is basically we're going to allow the users two ways to be able to issue commands to the bot. A user could type exclamation point and then some command, and the bot will be able to read that command. Or they could do @bot some command, and the bot will be able to work. So now we want to start building our audio service. So we need to plan ahead a little bit for this. So we're going to go into the audio service. We're going to go into the audio service file. We're going to change around some of this stuff. We're going to add some additional things to our using statement. So we're going to be using Discord. We're going to be using Discord audio. We're going to be using system.io because we're going to be writing to the IO or to the disk. We're going to use google.cloud.text. Yes, and then we're going to do .v1. Perfect. We're going to use Discord WebSocket. I don't feel like I need this, but maybe. Then we're going to do system.collection, collections.concurrent. And then last but not least, using NAudio.wave. Now we need to change this to a public class because we don't want this to be internal. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to define a list of channels that we are going to be using as our storage device or as our storage array so that we know what channels we're connected to and to what servers. So we're going to do a private static read-only concurrent dictionary, and then we're going to do ulong, and then we're going to use another type that is not currently defined yet, but we're going to call this audio client. No, audio client. I feel like this is going to give me a big headache if I don't define this. We'll just call this channels equals new concurrent. It should fill it out. No, stop doing that. Anyways, it's going to be a bit of an error. Now we're going to need to define our text-to-speech. So we're going to do private static. Doesn't need to be read-only per se, but we'll do text-to-speech. And we'll just call this Google. Goggle. Goggle. Why is that? Oh, text-to-speech client. We want text-to-speech client. My bad. Now we need to set up our constructor. We're just going to do audio service. Doesn't really matter here. Now we're going to set an environment variable because this is how the Google API sort of works. So we're going to do set environment variable. Now make sure you do this to the T. So we're going to do Google application credentials. And then we're going to call, then the file, the value we're going to be setting is tts_off.json. This will be the file, our authorization file that we received from Google. Now we're pretty much done with that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build an audio queue system. Now the reason why we want to build a queue, an audio queue, is so that when people are issuing multiple commands, we don't want all that audio to go down through the device, out through the device simultaneously. We want to have it sort of queued and a queued system. So the best way that we're going to do this is, well, not the best way, but the jankiest way that we're going to do this is we're going to do a public class. We'll call this audio queue. Now we're going to need to define a few things. So we'll do private static read only. Whoops, can't type. And then we'll do concurrent queue. And we're going to, we'll call this audio. We'll call this as a class audio in queue. And then set the variable as queue. And then equals new. Yes, fill that out. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And of course, I forgot that at the top. Well, I didn't forget it. It didn't autofill. Great. So now we're going to do private static bool task is running equals false. And then we're going to do a cancellation token too. So we want to be able to cancel or skip. So we're going to do private static cancellation. Ugh. I messed it up. Cancellation token source. Of course, I don't have this referenced. But we'll call this canceled, and we'll fix this just by doing this right here. We'll add the namespace that we're missing, which is the threading. I thought I had it, but we had the threading task. Makes sense. So now we have that set. Now we need to add in. Now we need to create the audio in queue. So we're going to do public or private class audio in queue, and then we're going to do public ulong server. So we know that this is going to be the server's ID. And then we'll do public string message. This should be the message that is going to be sent. Oop, I put sting. I'm very smart, I swear. And then we'll also do an audio type. So if you want to be able to expand this in the future, you can do that. So we'll do public audio type, and then we'll just put type get set. Now we should probably define some type of thing for this. We're going to do this as an enum, so we'll do public enum audio type, and we'll just do TTS and then just audio. Ugh. Can't really type. So now what we want to do is we want to add a public method so that we can add things into the queue. So we'll do public void. Wait, oh, it filled it out for me. Public void. We'll do in queue. Hopefully I spelled that right. Whatever. We'll do ulong server ID string message, and then we'll do an audio type. In here we're just going to add in queue, so in queue, and then we'll do new audio in queue class constructor, and we'll do perfect. Let me autofill that. Nice, exactly what I wanted. Now we should also check if task is not running. Then create the new task dot run, and we'll call this process queued items sync. Now this function doesn't exist, but don't worry, we're going to create this right below. We should also add in our skipping method, so we'll do public. I think I might need this to send the message, so we'll do public async void skip queue. And then we'll do I text channel. And then we'll do if the cancellation token is not equal to null, which means there's a cancellation token currently available, cancel. I'm blind. If not, then we need to say, hey, send message async. So we need to say, hey, you know, there is nothing in the queue to skip. Perfect. So now we actually need to put in our queue processor. So we're going to do private static sync task process queued items sync. Perfect. So now that function now currently exists, so we don't have to worry about that. So we'll set the task is running to true. Then we're going to do a while loop, and this while loop is just going to keep running until there's no more items left in the queue. So we'll do while running And obviously we want to break out of this before, or if there's nothing in the queue, so we'll do if queue does not have anything in it, break. So now we need to set up a variable that we're going to be casting out to. So we'll call this audio in queue. We'll just call this item. And then we're going to try and pull an item from the queue and dequeue it. So we'll do queue.tryDequeue. And then we'll do out item, perfect. And basically what that's saying is we're going to try and take an item, because this isn't a multi-threaded environment. We're going to try and take an item from the queue, pull it out, and if it's able to be pulled, then we'll continue processing what we need to process. So we need to create a new cancellation token. So we'll do new cancellation token, and we're going to do token source. And then we're just going to do a try statement to let this go. So we'll do try. Let's see if... Remember, we set an item type in there, so if item type is equal to audio TTS, you know, this is where we're going to process the text-to-speech part, so we'll do await process text-to-speech. Now, currently, this function does not exist, but we'll make it exist in the future. So we'll do item.server, and then we'll do item.message, and then last but not least, item.type. No, actually, no, we don't need to send a type. That's fine. We need to send a cancellation token though. So we need to do cancel_cancel.token. Perfect. Now, obviously, this function doesn't exist. Now, if you wanted to, like I said, if you want to like change this up in the future and send different types of audio, right now we're just going to be synthesizing a text-to-speech audio file using Google. We're going to save it to disk. And then we're going to read that file and transmit it through the bot's microphone. Now, if you wanted to expand this and add in like a music player or something like that, you could do that. You would just have to go into here, change the item type to do a check statement for if audio type is equal to audio, then, you know, we'll play the audio file that we saved instead. But now, I don't think we need to do this, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to catch the exception. And then we're just going to print this to the console window. So we'll do console.write line. We'll do ex.message. And then finally, we want to dispose of the cancellation of token. So we'll do cancel.dispose. Because we want to get rid of that to make sure that it's null, to say, hey, look, there's nothing left in the queue. We're good, you know? Anyways, that should be good for that. Whoops. So now we need to come out of the while loop, because after it breaks out, we need to say, hey, look, you know, the task is not running. All right. So far, this looks pretty good. Give or take, you know, there's some missing functions. So now we need to actually create our part that's going to, you know, we need to create our audio client. That's what we need to do. So we're going to do private class audio client. And then we'll do public ulong. We'll do channel. And we'll do ID. We're going to need the iAudio client. So we'll do iAudio client. And we'll just call this client. And then we'll do that. Now we need an audio outstream. This is going to be our device that we're going to be writing to, that's going to be transmitting the audio for our bots. We'll call this audio device, get set. And now we need our audio queue. So we'll do audio queue, and then that. Now, the reason why I have it set up like this is pretty simple, okay? So the channel ID is going to be saying which voice channel that it's connected to. Client is just going to be the iAudio client type. It's basically going to be our main point where we're going to be like, hey, this is our client. We need to tell this is our client that's connected to the voice channel, so we can do disconnecting, reconnecting, handle other types of events, whatever we need to do. The audio outstream is going to be our audio device. This is the main source that we're going to be, this is the main stream that we're going to be writing to, which is going to be transmitting the data for the voice on the bot. The audio queue is so that, you know, the bot will be able to connect in multiple servers, and the audio queue is going to be set on a per server basis. So that way, you know, the bot can do things, it can multitask in different servers simultaneously at the same time. Now, this is a little bit more advanced than what most people are used to. A lot of tutorials that are going around this stuff, they're mostly focusing on like one point, which is a one singular server use case. But we're preparing for the future. So now that we have that set up, we need to add in our main functions that are going to be handling the audio client, you know, telling the client to connect to whatever channel it needs to connect to, disconnect. We need to add a public method for, you know, adding to the queue, skipping the audio, etc., etc. So the first thing we'll do the easy stuff first. We'll do public async task add queue. And then we need to specify it as iGuild. We'll call this server string message, and then the last parameter will be audio and audio queue dot audio type. And this will just be the type of audio. So because again we're using concurrent, we are going to need to set a variable, and we'll call it audio client, and we'll just call this voice, and we'll check the channels, and we'll try to get the value of the server ID, which will be server.id, and then we'll put this out to the voice variable. Now essentially what this is, because if you're not familiar with this, this is a concurrent dictionary, or it's a concurrent hash map. It's multi-threading safe. So what we're trying to do in a multi-threaded safe environment, we're trying to see if the guild ID or the server ID is currently stored in our hash map. If it is, we're going to take that information, put it in the variable voice, which will be our audio client that we have specified. And now we're going to do voice.queue.enqueue, and we'll just send over, you know, the server ID. We'll send in the message, and then we'll send in the audio type, which will just be type. Perfect. Now, because we want to keep this all asynchronous, so we're going to do await task not completed. So that way it's not running synchronously. So now we need to add in our skipping methods. We'll do async task skip queue, right? Now we'll call this skip audio. So what will we need for this? We'll need the socket guild. So we need server, and then we'll just do iText channel, and we'll call this text channel. This will be how we'll respond back. So again, in a multi-threaded safe way, we'll do audio client, voice. We'll check if channels dot try get value. We'll see if the server dot ID, and then we'll do out client. Why did I do socket guild? I should have just did iGuild. Keep it, because it's the same thing. We'll do out voice, and then we'll do client, or no, not client. I think I do client because I'm looking at audio client. So voice dot queue, and then we'll do skip queue, and then we'll send the text channel so that way that it knows to be like, hey, you know, dumbass, there's nothing in the queue. So again, we're gonna do await task completed task. So that way it stays asynchronously. It still runs asynchronously, because this is going to be running under the command framework. These commands are going to be accessed through the command framework. So we need to keep this going. Okay, so now we need to add a method that will allow us to join. So we're going to do public async task join audio. Now we're going to do iGuild server, because we're going to need to know the server. And then we're going to need to know the voice channel. So we'll do iVoice channel, and then we'll do voice channel. And we're going to need to know text channel in case we need to respond back. So we'll just do text channel. Perfect. So the first thing we want to do, we want to make sure there's no funky stuff in the way. So we're going to do voice channel dot guild dot id, and if it's not equal to server dot id, then we'll just return, because something really fucking weird happened and we didn't want that. No sir. So again, in a multi-threaded safe environment, we're going to do audio client, and then we'll do voice. And what we'll do is we'll do a little check first. We'll make sure that, you know, we're not currently connected to a voice channel. If we are, then we should check, you know, to make sure that the voice channel that we're connected to is not the same voice channel that a user wants us to connect to. So this will allow us to be able to easily swap between channels within the same server. So we'll just put a comment, you know, check if currently connected voice channel is, yeah, we'll just do it like this, whatever. So we'll do if channels dot try get value server out voice. Perfect. So we're like, okay, you know what? We're in a voice channel. So now let's make sure the voice channel is not the same. So we'll do, I completely messed it up. So we'll do voice channel dot id equal to voice channel dot id. So essentially what this is going to do is we're going to be like, I'm already connected to a voice channel, you know, and it's the same voice channel that you want me to connect to. So we need to do await text channel dot send message async, and we'll say already connected to the same channel. And then we'll just return, because there's no point to continue executing the rest of the code inside of our function. There's another thing that we should do. So let's say, you know, in the event that our bot gets disconnected from the voice channel, or gets disconnected from Discord itself. This does happen. It's very frequent. They like to tell bots to reconnect every now and again, and it doesn't, like, let's say it doesn't join the voice channel. So we should also do voice.client.connection state, and we should make sure the connection state is set to connected. So now that we established that, you know, it is connected to a voice channel and the voice channels are not the same that it's trying to get us to connect to, now we need to actually do the part which is going to change around, you know, all of our old stuff. So we're going to make a little bit of a duplicate here. We'll call this old voice, and then we'll do equals a voice, and we'll just say make a temporary copy of the old audio client. Now, the reason why we're going to do this is because we're going to be updating the dictionary. I'm not 100% sure that I need to do this. It's probably not needed, but I'm doing it anyway. This is typically how the use case should work. But we're going to be doing this to update our hash maps. Now we need to specify a new client, and we'll do... This is the part where we're just going to connect. So we'll do await voice channel dot connect async. Perfect. You know... This should disconnect from any connected current channel and connect to newly desired. You know, make sure we got comments so it's nice and easy. So another thing that I've had to do, I don't know why I have to do this, it's very annoying, but we'll do voice.audio device, and we'll set this to null. I should dispose of this, but if I dispose of it, it has a weird thing that happens. So we'll let the garbage collection that's built into C# just do this on its own. But we need to set the audio device to null, because we're going to be creating an audio device in the actual audio part where we send it. And that audio device is going to be stored there. So we're going to be checking if it's null or not. So now we need to do voice.client, and then we'll just make sure, make sure this is equal to client. So we'll do voice.channel ID. And we'll update the channel ID to the voice channel.id. Perfect. Now let's just try and update this, So we'll do channels.try update. Yeah, try update. And do server.id as the key, and then voice, and then old voice. Afterwards, we'll just return because we don't want the rest of this to keep going. Oh, I put this in the wrong spacing. Wrong spacing. Sorry, it's supposed to still be in this part. So now that we have that part done, we're going to break out of our if statement, which is saying, hey, we're currently connected to a channel, or we think that we're connected to a channel. So now let's go to the part that's going to process and actually connect us to a channel from a fresh perspective. So we're going to have to create a new thing. So we'll do voice equals new audio client. Do our constructor. So we'll set our channel ID. Perfect. And we're also going to have to set up our queue. So we'll do, oh no. Should be what we need. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So let's go ahead and, connect to the channel. So we'll do var audio client, and then we'll connect to the current voice channel. So voice channel dot connect async. And we'll set that up. So we'll do voice.client is equal to audio client. And then we'll just we'll try to add this in. If it doesn't work, we should probably do a little bit of a check and say, hey, there was an internal error or something like that. So we'll do if we cannot add, server.id with voice, then we should print out a message saying, there was a failure. So we'll do await text channel dot, what is it? Send message? Yeah, send. Failed to add to our hash map. Internal error. If you wanted to get more technical, you could change this up. This is just like a weird thing, so I know from a debugging perspective. So now that we have that set up, we need to add in our method that's going to be able to allow us to leave the voice channel. So we'll do public async task, and we'll do leave audio, right? And we'll do iGuild server. I don't know why I'm still sending that. Oh, right. I remember, right. Obviously, we need to know to do it. So again, in a thread safe environment, we'll do audio client. We'll call this voice. And then we'll do if channels dot try remove. So we want to try and remove this from our hash map. And we'll send this out to voice. So if it was successful to remove this from our hash map, we'll do await. No, actually, I don't have to do that. I could just do dispose. So we do voice.client.dispose. And this should disconnect us. The dispose method should disconnect us from the voice channel and just dispose of the entire resource that we were using. And then later on, the garbage collection will come through and be like, okay, I'll pick up the rest of the trash. Now, again, because we're not actually doing any asynchronous tasking in here, we need to keep this as an async. So we're going to await task.async. Or task.completed. Completed task. Blech, we'll say it's completed. Anyways. So now we're going to do the actual part that's going to be processing the text-to-speech. But before that, because we're going to be saving these pre-generated audio files to disk, we're going to need to sort of come up with a unique way for each message, so that way each file is unique. So what we'll do is we'll do a hashing with MD5. We'll just do MD5 because MD5 is pretty quick and clean, right? So we'll do private static string create, or no, we'll just call this MD5. I'm going to do string input. And then we'll do using of our MD5 is equal to system, because I don't want to reference this at the top. So it's system.security. What's the other one? Crypto or cryptography. There we go. .md5.create. So now we need to set up some things. So we'll do byte hash bytes. Or no, we need to do md5.complete or compute hash, and then we also need to get the bytes of the string. So we'll do encoding.asci.getBytes, and we'll get the bytes of the input. Perfect. Then we'll just return this. So we need to convert it to a string. So we'll convert to hex string, and we'll do hash bytes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create up our other method, our final method, which is going to be processing the text. So we'll do private static async. Now remember, the reason why we're doing static is because, again, in the top part up here in the audio queue, we actually have some static referencing. So we're going to also need to keep it static. So do private static async task. We'll do process text to speech, right? Is that correct? Text to speech. Just to make sure that I spelled it correctly. And again, ulong server. And we'll do string message and then cancellation token, right? Yes, token. So we finally got rid of that one error that was driving me absolutely nuts. So now we need to create our file. Or we need to set up our file name. Now the first thing we should do, we should check to see if the directory we'll say TTS. Well, we need to make sure that a directory called TTS exists. If it does not exist, we'll create the directory. So that's where our audio files for TTS is going to be stored. So now we're going to do string file name, underscore name. We'll do underscore name. And then we'll just do string dot format. We'll do TTS backslash. Is it backslash? I think it's backslash. I don't know if top of my head. Whatever. You know what? It's better to just be safe because I'll just do path dot combine, and then we'll do TTS, and then we'll do string dot format. We'll do MP3. We'll save this as an MP3. And then we need to create, no, it's called MD5. MD5, the message. Now, to make sure that this is completely unique, we'll convert this message completely to lower. Or make sure that it's converted all the way to lower. So that's going to be our file name. So the reason why I'm doing this is because we don't want to keep regenerating. We don't want to keep regenerating voice data for the same thing as being repeated like over and over again. So the best thing to do is to save that. So we're going to save that to disk. But before we do that, we should probably check to see if it does not exist. So we'll do if file does not exist, and then we'll do file name. Then we'll start creating it. So first and foremost, we're going to have to check to see if Google is set to null. So if Google is equal to null, then Google equals await text to speech client dot create a sync. Perfect. So now we need to send this information out to Google and be like, yo, what's my response? We'll do var response is equal to await Google underscore Google, and then we'll do synthesize speech async, and we need to set up a new request. So yeah, perfect. That actually put that in for me. So we need to set the input, and the input is going to be of type, oh, well, it's already right there. Perfect. So we'll do new, and then we'll set the value. We'll set this to message. We need voice. Voice. I just had it. Voice selection params. It pulled it up for me. Because I already have, I have notes on the side, so we'll do en-au. We're gonna do an Australian female voice. Should be good. Now we need to set up the audio config. So we need to specify the audio encoding. We're going to do audio encoding.mp3. Perfect. So that's pretty much set up. So now we need to take the response. So this is going to be creating the response, sending it to Google and be like, hey, look, take this text, synthesize it, and then tell me what the response is. So now that we have the response, we need to write that to the file. So we're going to do using var stream, and we're going to do file.create. And now obviously we want to, create it with a file name. Is that closed off properly? Yes, it is. And we'll just do response.audio content. And what is the answer? Copy to. They have copy to, but we'll do write to. And we'll just write this to the stream. And that's going to be like, that's going to create a file. So this is going to be, we have our text processing. Now we just need to call the final bit, which is going to be sending out audio. We'll create another function because, again, if you want to change this up in the future, you can. So that if you want to play like music, or if you want to have TTS and then also add in music, you can do that. So we'll just send this out to another function. So we're gonna call this function send mp3 audio async. And then same parameters, we'll just do server, file name, and then we need to send a token. Now obviously this function doesn't exist, but we're going to do this right now. So we'll do private static async a task, and then we'll do send mp3 audio async, right? Perfect. So we'll do ulong. Specify our parameters. We need our server. Then we need, what do I want to call that? We'll call that audio file. And then we need our cancellation token. So, once again, finally, we're in the final stretch. We need to set up our voice printing. We need to make sure that the file does exist. So if the file does not exist, we're just going to return, because there's no point to keep going, right? So now we need to make sure that this is currently connected to a voice chat. And if it is connected to a voice chat, then this is where we're going to start, reading the audio file and doing some fun stuff. So we'll do using var audio. Why is my keyboard like dipping down? It's a little weird. Because this is an MP3, we're going to do new MP3 file reader. And then we'll read the audio file. Now, there's a very specific format that needs to be set up on the audio for it to play properly throughout the device. So we're going to have to set up some format, and we're gonna have to set up a format and be able to do this. So we'll do var stream equals new wave format conversion stream. We'll do a conversion stream. So now I need to do new wave format, and we're gonna set this to 48,016.2. So basically, this is gonna be 48 kilohertz. 16 bits on 2 channels. And then we need to pipe in the audio stream so that way it gets converted. So we should probably check if there is an audio device currently created. So we'll do if voice.audio device is equal to null, then voice.audio device. And this is where we're finally going to create our audio client. So we'll do voice.client.create piece. Oh no, I don't want direct. Create PCM stream. So we'll do audio application.mixed. It doesn't really matter too much. It doesn't really matter too much. But what does matter is we should set these variables. So for the total bit rate, we're going to set 98,304. And then for the buffering, we're going to set it, or packet loss. I'm sorry. Packet loss. Is it packet loss? No. Buffer millis. Whatever. We're going to set this to 200. The reason why we're doing that is to ensure that everything stays functional. No big deal. So now, we need to actually finally send this information and get it going. So we'll do try await, and then we'll do stream that copy to. We'll copy to voice data. We'll copy it to the audio device. And then, oops. So what does this take? It takes a cancellation token, but we're going to set in 1920. And then we'll also put in the token. Because this is the part that's going to take the longest, and if, you know, we need to cancel and skip the audio, we can do that. Is that all that we need? It should be. Now we'll just do finally. And we'll wait until the audio device has nothing left in the stream. Like, there's nothing left being wrote to the stream. And that's pretty much that. So now we have all of our main functions set up in our audio service. We set up our queue. We've set up our queue at the top. This is a really janky queue, by the way. There's probably a better way to do this. But anyways, we set up our queue. We added our public methods to be able to add to the queue and skip audio that's in the queue. And we added in our, our method handler so that we can join the audio, leave the audio. And then last but not least, we have the text processing, or we have the processing part, which is going to take the text to speech, send it to Google, have Google transmit us the audio data back. We're going to save that audio data to disk, and then we're finally going to play it out through our audio device for our bots. So now that that's all set up, we only have one more thing to do, and that's to set up our module. Now, our module is going to be our command part. This is going to be where users issue commands. And this is going to be pretty simple. Again, we're only going to need to add in a few things. So we'll do using Discord. And we'll do using Discord.commands. And then we're going to do some regular expressions in here. We should also include this YouTube.services. Should be fine. So we're going to change this to a public class audio module, and we're going to inherit from, we're going to expand upon the module base of the socket command context. Now I'm going to set this up in a grouping system. So users will access this in case you want to add different commands. Users will be able to access like voice join or, voice leave instead of just typing join or leave. So we're going to set up a group. Let me just remove this part. So we'll set up our group and we'll call this voice. You can call it whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. Now at the top, we're going to need to set in our audio service. We'll do private read only audio service. We'll just call this audio. Now we need our constructor. So we'll do public audio module and I'm actually forgetting some things up here. So I need using Microsoft.extensions.dependency injection. Perfect. Service provider. We'll call this services. So essentially what this is because this is all being packed up with the dependency injection, we'll be able to access the service provider and get all the required services or the single instances of what we need. So we'll pretty much auto-filled it for us too. That's perfect. Exactly what we wanted. So now that we have our constructor done, we're ready to start setting up our commands. So now we need to set up our functions or our commands so that the bot knows what to do. So the first thing we'll do is we'll set up our join command. So we'll do command join. And then we're going to set the run mode to asynchronous. No, I don't want it set to manual. I want it set to asynchronous. So that way it doesn't do any type of blocking. So we'll do public async task join async. And we'll just do like the example that was provided initially for this framework. We'll do iVoice channel equal null. And then we need to make sure that we can cast this. That if a channel is provided, you know, we can do it like this. So, that's not how I wanted to autofill. Yikes! So we need to take the context of the user. So this is going to be the user that's saying, "Hey, get in my voice channel." So we're going to find that user, and we're going to need to cast him as an iGuild user. And then we're going to need to get his voice channel. So this is going to be the voice channel that we need to connect to. So we should check if the channel is equal to null. Then we'll say await reply async. And we'll say you are not connected to a voice channel. We'll do it like that. Otherwise, if he is in a voice channel, then, let's say I want to get in there, So we'll do await audio dot join async. So again, we're going to send the servers. We're going to send the server. So it's going to be guild. Now, we're going to need to send the voice channel. Why did I put it like that? So I need channel. And then let's also send it. Yeah, we need to send the text channel. So we'll do context.channel as iText channel. So this will cast it as an iText channel property. And that's pretty much that. So now the bot should be able to join no problem. So now we need to make it so that he can leave. And this is not going to be anything too fancy. Whoops. Too fancy or special. We'll just do leave. Again, set the run mode. Perfect. So we'll do public async task. Got to capitalize everything. Leave async. And because, again, this is going to be like a one-line thing, we handle all of this in the audio service, so we'll just do await audio. Yeah, perfect. Oh, right. I need to send context.guild. Is that? Yes, perfect. Excellent. So we also need to add in the audio skipping commands. We'll do... call this skip, and we'll set the run mode once again. My fingers are starting to hurt. I've done this too long. My head is starting to hurt. So we'll do skip audio. So we need to send the context.guild, and then we need to take the context channel as an iText channel. Perfect! Wow, the one time that Visual Studio's autocomplete actually works properly. I usually hate it. So now we have our three main commands, which will be able to allow us to join, leave, and skip. Now we need our text-to-speech part. So we're going to call this command TTS. Again, setting the run mode to asynchronous. So that way it doesn't do any type of blocking. And now, for the main parameter, because we're just taking the entirety of what the user's saying and transmitting it, we need to do bracket remainder. So this is saying, look, we need to take all the text that they put, not just... Because the way that they space out for the command framework in discord.net is every time there's a space, it's counted as a parameter. So what we're doing with the remainder tag is we're saying take all of it as one. And we'll just call this text input. Oh wait, I need to cast it as a string and then text input. Right? Perfect. So going off my note, the one thing that we should do is we should do a little bit of trimming here and there. So we'll do string message is equal to regex.replace, and then we'll do, whoops, text input. This should be text input. I already have a pre-set up thing. And this is just going to remove the tagging thing. So if someone does like, you know, a voice TTS at blah blah, this is how it would look. It's basically what we're going to do is we're going to strip this part out. We're going to strip any tags, any references to users out from our string. So we're going to replace this with nothing. And now we should also trim this up. Get rid of any excess white spaces or anything like that, because we want to keep the message short without a lot of junk. Because again, everything counts as a character, and we want to keep that low, so that way we're not going over the limit. And we'll just convert this message to lower, because it doesn't really matter if it's all caps or lower. So we'll set it to, we'll put it all the way down to lower, so that way it's 100% unique. And we should check to see if the message length, if it's less than 1, then that means, you know, reply async. We'll say, you know, the message you entered is invalid. And we'll just return. Otherwise, we need to send this off to the queue. There's other things that you can do in here, but this is really basic. So we'll just send this to the audio queue. So we'll do add queue. And it's context.guild message. And then audio service dot audio queue dot audio type dot TTS, baby. There we go. We're done. We're set. So now that we have that all set up and done, I think it's about time we test the bot. So let's go ahead and start this. Make sure that you edit the program.cs and add in your token. I already did that beforehand. How did it fail? It was, oh man. Right, that's how it failed. I forgot to add this into the singleton. I'm so smart. Why does this autocomplete just not work? Perfect, there we go. Now it'll work. That was a slight oversight. I forgot to add that into the services injection. So something went wrong, and I wonder if it's here. It is there. Oh my god. I always make this mistake, and I always mess this up. So we need to fix this. This is not set up the way that it should be. I'm trying to remember how this should be set. Perfect. I had the exclamation point. I had the not check in a really bad spot. Actually, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now it makes sense. So just do a hot reload. So we know that it works, so let's get into a voice channel. Let's connect the bot now. What? Oh, this is supposed to be voice channel. Ay-ya-ya. Again. What? Got ahead of myself. Bot's connected. So let's see if he says anything.
Hello world.
And it works. So let's just do something really, really long to make sure that the skip works. Skip works. Perfect. Well, so now that we have everything set up, I hope you guys found this pretty easy. This was kind of a long video. I'll have the source and everything on GitHub, so you'll be able to look down in the description below and go to GitHub and get the source and look over it. Make your changes that you need to do. Obviously, no one's going to follow along entirely with the video that I was doing, but I mostly tried. This is my first sort of like programming video, whatever you want to call it. I don't do this type of stuff, so I'm not really too familiar with how people like to set up the format and everything on these videos, but I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you didn't, then hey, you know, whatever. But anyways, you guys have an awesome day. I'll see you in the next one.